So I want to show you something. This area right here, this tiny island of Sardinia, has the highest percentage of males living to 100 or beyond in the entire world. But what is going on here? Why are these people living so long? Is wine, olive oil, laughter the secret to a long life? Maybe, but probably not. Let's dig a little deeper. Sardinia is a small island off the western coast of Italy, and it was dominated by the Aragonese and the Spanish till the second millennium, when finally in 1861, Italy took Sardinia back. And it's not a huge island, with a population of 1.64 million people off the western edge of the Italian mainland. It is one of the 5 blue zones worldwide, and all blue zones are just areas where people live longer than 100 years. The other 4 zones are Okinawa, Japan, Caria, Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Loma Linda. And Sardinia in particular is an interesting place. And this is because in most places of the world, the ratio of centenarians of women to men is very high. So usually you have around 4 centenarian women for every 1 centenarian man. However, in Sardinia, we see a ratio of 1 to 1. Men usually succumb to things such as heart disease and cancer at an earlier age than women. However, in Sardinia, this isn't true. And why is this? Maybe it's community involvement, family ties, eating only locally grown fruits and vegetables, and maybe something the butcher just killed the other day. Or maybe it's being very friendly with sheep. So will all these things help us live longer than 100 years old? I'm not really sure. Let's check out the science. So life expectancy is mainly determined by 2 things: genetics and environment. And I'm not going to delve too deep into the specifics here, but people born in Sardinia may have a few advantages. Their insides are literally different, and this may be essential, right? Because the gut biome is linked to mental health, physical health, and longevity. And specifically, the gut microbiota in Centenarians of Sardinia has a low abundance of Faecalibacterium and an enrichment of Methanobrevibacter and Desulfovirabrio. But unfortunately, we still don't know enough to say cause and effect. We can't say because of these things, these people live longer. However, these bacteria have high capabilities in glycolysis and short-chain fatty acid production, SCFA, which could boost longevity. Sardinians have higher levels of Neolithic farmer ancestry than other Europeans. And many of these genes, specifically from these farmer genes, are associated with greater longevity associated with specific diseases such as gout, heart disease, anemia, and kidney disease. Importantly, however, the evidence for this genetic contribution to longevity and lifespan isn't exactly clear. Another study showed no significant difference between inflammatory genes in Sardinians and the rest of the population of the world. But genetics, that's not the fun stuff. The fun stuff is the environment. What can we change? What can we do to impact our longevity? How are our relationships? How is our diet? How much time do we spend in nature? Do we exercise enough? And as a species, lifespan has continuously increased for most Western societies thanks to better medical care, access to clean and safe water, and access to food. The Italian life expectancy has gone from 29 years in 1861 to 82 years in 2011. The number of centenarians has equally skyrocketed, from only 165 in 1951 to over 15,000 in 2011. Now, a large majority of this can of course be attributed to clean and safe access to water and food and better access to healthcare. But what about these special Italians? What about these Sardinians? Why are they different than the rest of the world? Is there something special going on with them here? Here's what we do now. Having easy and safe and abundant access to food, water, and healthcare, having strong social connections, having a low stress environment are all strongly associated with a increased longevity. Now, most developed countries have access to many of these things, but what about low stress and strong social connections? Do we need something else besides clean food, clean water, and safe access to both of these things, and of course, healthcare? Is this where the Sardinians pull ahead? Unfortunately, it's tough to find studies that specifically reference and compare centenarians in Sardinia because it's just such a small population. So I did the only thing I could, right? I had to find out for myself. We're on the way to a town called Zinellu, and as you can see, it's a little bumpy. And this is because we're going up and down the side of the mountains. But the reason we're going to Zinellu is because this town in 2016 had the highest number of centenarians than anywhere or percentage based on the population density than anywhere else in the world. So they had 20 centenarians for a population of about 800 or 900 people, which is unheard of. People living over 100 years old. I'm gonna go now and see why people there think this way. Why do they think? Is it the food that they eat? Is it the family connections that they have? Let's find out. Arriving to the town, I was instantly met by a lovely old man sitting on the bench named Mario.
Buongiorno,
Buongiorno.
mi chiamo Zach. Come ti chiami?
Mario.
Mario. Vivi qui?
Sì,
Vivi
sì.
qui.
And Mario was a kind man in his 80s.
Quanto anni hai?
82.
82 anni. What do you eat normally? What is a normal day of what you eat?
Pasta a me piace.
Yeah, ti piace pasta? Sì, mi piace anch'io. Mi piace
Io la
pasta
mangio
molto,
volentieri, non tutti i giorni, ma
It seems that people are always ready to talk to each other and they're always hanging out with someone. After that, walking around the town, it seemed somewhat dead. There was really no one on the streets. However, luckily, someone saw me walking around the streets with a camera and talking to someone, and they called the mayor. Why do you think people in Sardinia, or here even, live longer than anywhere else in the world?
Le comunità longeve, c'è una conoscenza di comunità che è molto stretta.
Is there a gym here?
No, l'invecchiamento attivo non lo fai in palestra. La palestra è l'orto, la vigna, le pecore al pascolo, le camminate.
For example, a McDonald's. Could a McDonald's come here?
Il cibo di McDonald's è un cibo che difficilmente un nostro anziano lo definirebbe cibo, perché non l'ha prodotto lui.
And so I got to speak to the mayor, and literally after that, doors opened.
Ciao,
Ciao, mi chiamo Zach.
io Giovanni Lucci.
Giovanni Luccia.
Giovanni Lucci.
Quanto anni hai, Giovanni?
Io ho compiuto 88 a settembre, sono 34.
34. 88, wow. Who is this?
Questo è mio padre Salvatore,
Quanto anni ha?
101 e 5 mesi.
101 e 5
Era del
mesi.
1906.
What do you eat? What is a normal food? Che cibo comune?
A me mi piace la carne naturale, una buona pasta asciutta, i ravioli, come li fa Seulo.
And you seem very happy. Why
Lei
are
sembra
you
molto
happy?
felice. Qual è il segreto?
È
della sua
scherzo, è
felicità?
joking.
Lei scherza, gioca. Qual è il segreto?
No, mi piace tutto. Quando trovo gente, ad esempio, gente di fuori che mi dà un po' di confidenza, anche io do confidenza. Perché è giusto parlare nella
Sì.
vita. Perché se rimaniamo muti non va bene. Si deve parlare, quello che sa parlare bisogna chiarirlo. Adesso stamattina sono andato in vigna perché ho una vigna con mio figlio, lei con la motozappa e io a zappare con la zappa.
You work in the garden now still? At 88? At 88?
Ancora mi piace andare alla vigna, ma non troppe ore, ma 1 o 2 ore mi sta bene. Faccio una bella scodellina di latte e caffè, con biscotti, alla cena pane e formaggio, qualche frutta, piccole cose. Però devo pranzare bene,
Sì.
quando pranzo buono.
Sì.
Allora alla cena mi arrangio da me.
Quanto volte per settimana mangi carne?
E 2 o 3 volte.
2 o
Non-
3 volte?
2 o 3 volte.
2 o 3 volte,
Sì, ma a pranzo solo. Poi bevo anche un bicchiere di vino.
Sì, è dopo domanda,
Era quello che le volevo
Sì. E
fammi
quanto
la-
bicchiere di vino per
No,
settimana?
Mio padre mi
Sì.
aveva insegnato, lui
Sì.
beveva il vino fino all'ultimo momento che è morto.
Sì, capito.
And as I was talking to this guy, he kept getting interrupted by his friends, his family members, who were just all along the street ready to talk to him. And finally, when I had to go because I really didn't have much time, he wouldn't let me leave without me coming into his house and taking a drink of his homemade wine. It was really a crazy experience, an amazing experience, but a crazy
Per
experience.
salute, per salute.
Come si dice in sardo? Saludi?
Saluti.
Saludi.
Saluti in sardo.
È molto dolce, molto
The,
sweet.
the people there just didn't understand, it seemed like, what being was a rush in. They didn't understand why I had to leave so soon. They wanted me to stay for lunch, have a glass of wine, hang out on the fields with them, just chill with them. And finally, I met a lovely lady named Elvira who told me the key to living a long life.
E qual è la segreta di vita lungo?
Le dico di andare a prendere la zappa,
La zappa.
a zappare in campagna come avevo fatto io.
And again, leaving that house was not easy. They wanted me to stay for wine, to have lunch. She would cook for me. It was just everyone wanted everyone to be involved and be comfortable. So in my field, I try to focus on the facts and leave opinions out of it. As a healthcare professional, I believe empiric evidence is what we must focus on. So what is the real empiric evidence, the proven science for living longer? Try and be in a place that is safe and has easy and clean access to water, food, and healthcare. Focus on maintaining a healthy weight, managing medical conditions, having strong social connections, reducing your stress, and sleeping correctly for having a longer and happier life. But the evidence behind having a certain olive oil, drinking a glass of wine, working on the field, walking a certain distance, eating this grain versus that grain, just isn't there. Some studies say it's beneficial, while other studies say it's not. There needs to be clear evidence for healthcare professionals, I think, to make recommendations, and the evidence just isn't there. However, and this is a big however, to take off my doctor hat, the activities of the Sardinians compared to my fellow Americans just seems more healthy. There is constant movement, whether this is hiking or working in the fields or walking to a friend's house. They are still working at 80 or 90 years old. There is no retirement. The families are extremely close, extremely kind, and extremely connected. The elder of the family isn't seen as a burden that needs to be taken care of, but an advisor and a mentor. The community didn't even know what a nursing home was. They didn't even know what a McDonald's was. And when I asked the mayor if they would build a McDonald's there, they said it wouldn't be allowed. And not because the law government wouldn't allow it, but because the people there just wouldn't eat it. They would only eat things made with their own hands, that they knew where it came from. Very few foods there were non-perishable. Even the wine was made in the house. The product may have been picked at the garden yesterday or bought from a friend the other day. And indirectly, many of these activities are supported by the evidence. Exercise, healthy diet, low stress environment, strong social connection. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. A special thanks to the town of Seulu for letting me visit, and thanks to the mayor for helping me out. And a very, very special thanks to Mario, Elvira, and Giovanni. Arrivederci.
She's a cousin of his.
Ciao, mi chiamo Zach.
Io Silvana.
Sonia, piacere. Lui viene dall'America, Filadelfia.
Una delle mie cugine preferite.
Ah,
È
vero,
favorite cousins.
e più è famosa del resto della family, conosci.